Welcome to Stay Paid. We'd love to hear, what you have going on. What's your kind of struggle right now in the business that you think is preventing you from the next level?
So what I've had, I've had several listings, right? And, it doesn't matter if they're, at the medium range, a little bit below, a lot higher in the middle, anywhere. People are people, as I go and working with them. I have some, not all, but I got some that just think, I guess they all think, it's worth a lot more than what the market will bear. And so I'm dealing with listings that are way up there. And, for example, I did open house last weekend for one that's way up there. And of course, we had very little people show up. But thank God I'd listened to you guys. I took my magazine and a flyer that Kyra had helped me with a QR code in it and went door to door saying what y'all said. By the way, awesome. we're having an open house here. People may be parking in front of your car. Oh, by here's my stuff. So that's been good. I got from that, but I'm having trouble with the clients that I'm listing houses for that just won't budge on what they think.
Yeah, they want a higher price in essence. Yeah. And so you're kind of torn. Do I just take the listing with the higher price, or do I stand my ground? And tell them what they need to hear. I'd be curious, Stephen, your opinion, right? You've had live in the trenches doing this. Like, what's been your experience there?
Yeah, well, the good news is you've only been 3 years in the business. It probably took me, 6-7 years to really get through this. And, now we're closing 250 deals. We deal with the same exact problems, the same exact problems, right? People want the most money that they get in the pocket, and that's a good thing. And so really like a shift in thinking is they don't make money if it doesn't sell, and you don't make money, Craig, if it doesn't sell.
Right.
And so really you just got to sit back and go, dude, I have to have these truthful, hard conversations with individuals. Right now you have to pitch it and present it in the right way, which the right way, the motivation is to make the most money. And so everything needs to be framed to your seller. This is what I've experienced is I always frame it with a positive of, hey, my goal here is to bring you the most money, right? And with that, I've got to be completely transparent with you, right? These are the stats that I'm seeing, and just make sure you're showing, not telling. These are the stats I'm seeing on your property. We've only got 500 views on Zillow. We've got 10 saves on Zillow, and we got 0 showings.
Yeah.
So we know right off the bat that we are priced a little bit aggressively to the market in order to get up to what I think we can get up to, which is X. I think that's going to net you the most money that you can make in your pocket. We need to act fast in this market. And so you're framing it in a positive, and you got to get them to shift their thinking back to their motivation, which is to make the most money. The truth is sellers just don't trust you when they're saying they don't want to drop price. They don't trust that that's the decision that should be made. And so you gotta explain that to them.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Is there a way to prevent that, like before you get the listing, I think is what he's kind of pointing towards too, like the beginning conversation, not during. How do you frame it to get them to not do the higher price? Or do you?
From the beginning, getting the listing appointment. Yeah, so usually, you got the comps in front of you, right? So we always say here, show, don't tell. And so we get them to look at the comps, and then they make the decision or where they should be in the comps. You want people to make the decision on the price, but you're leading that through showing them, where they should be. The second thing is setting up expectations with guys. If we don't get X amount of showings in the first week, I'll come to you guys. I'll tell you when we need to do a price drop. I'll be the one to do that. And I'll tell you when we don't need to do a price drop. But I'm going to be the one. I'll make sure that you know where you're at on price, and then we'll do a price drop from there. So you always want to set up, the price reduction, because we don't decide the market, buyers decide the market. And so you just want to frame it in the way of, this is the expectation. I will be coming to you if we don't get X.
Yeah, super well said. Craig, I have a great podcast for you to listen to on Stay Paid. I think it was Tom's story.
Yeah.
Am I getting that right?
Yeah.
So Tom, I don't know if you listen to that one or not, but Tom has an incredible listing presentation, and shout out to him. I think he's like one of the #1 agents in Canada or something like that. But one of the things he does that's very similar to what Stephen and Cody are talking about is the night before the listing presentation, he sends that client or prospective client a video from him and a bunch of comps. And he basically encourages them, hey, I'm looking forward to our meeting tomorrow. I just wanted to send you some information. What I want you to check out, these aren't exactly like your listing, but they're very similar. And I want you to see what the price was of those, because I'd love to get your thoughts on that when we meet tomorrow. So he's already seeding the pricing combo into the mind of the prospective client, and that's the key. I'll close with this just to encourage you, is that my experience in business has been is if you do not hold to your truth and values, you will regret it, because in the end, you just end up wasting your time and their time. And the only exception I ever make to that is for a brand new agent that just needs to get their teeth kicked in to actually learn the business. So never take crappy listings unless you're a brand new agent, because you need any listing you can get and you got to learn. But at your stage of the game, already a few years in, already doing 2 million in volume, at this point, you've got to hold to your values and hold to your truth, because you're just wasting time. But in order to do that, you got to be a professional. It seems to me, my advice I would give to you is, what is the pre-packet, pre-marketing, pre-seeding that you're giving to that potential seller before you show up at their house? And I would focus some attention there. I would go check out the Tom Story interview, and he has a whole training on BAMX. If you're not a member of BAMX, shout out to Eric and the team there. Yeah. But he walks you through his whole listing presentation, everything he does. I bet you if you do that, you will have less of that problem.
I love that.
Because you are leading with the data.